耳畔有虽被地狱冰冷深入魂髓，眼前是凌霄剑影写满邪恶的罪。
六万路步步随，仙门光耀常负累。
正邪的戒备在心底寸寸崩摧。血色纹路染暗夜，惊空已别破重围。狂澜中那倒影是深渊唯一的灰。
指尖有赤焰
Welcome to Chronicles of the Forbidden Stele, written and produced by Alan. Truth is often hidden within taboos. Subscribe now and step into the mist-shrouded abyss of the Forbidden Stele. Chapter 1: The Abyssal Fog. The forest was swallowed by the hungry jaws of night. The darkness was thick as blood, greedily drinking the last of the daylight. A few pale strands of moonlight leaked through the tattered clouds, struggling past the leaves to throw ghostly patches of light on the rotting ground. The wind was a cold knife against my face, but that pain was nothing compared to the pit of despair that had frozen me to the bone. Behind me, the shriek of sword energy ripped through the air. It clung to me like a disease, getting closer with every second. Each attack carried the pure celestial spirit energy of the Lingxiao sword sect, the same power that I, Shen Fusheng, the sect's former prodigy, had been so proud of. It was the power of heroes, meant to cleanse the world. Now, that heroic light was a weapon aimed at my heart, trying to nail me to the bottom of an abyss. My chest burned like it was filled with hot coals, the price for pushing my spirit energy too far. I wasn't fighting back. I was just running, trying desperately to escape a net I couldn't see but could feel tightening all around me. Every step was heavy, like I was dragging chains. My legs screamed in protest, and sweat and mud blinded me. 3 days ago, the night everything changed. I remember it perfectly. I went alone into the sect's forbidden grounds, the sword catacomb, hoping to find a breakthrough. But I made a mistake. I touched a broken stone tablet sealed by ancient magic. It was deathly cold, with no trace of celestial power, like it had been frozen for 1,000 years. The instant my fingers touched it, boom. A tidal wave of energy crashed through my soul. It felt like a million red-hot needles stabbing into my brain all at once. A deafening roar exploded in my head as a flood of chaotic whispers and twisted images poured in. My mind was torn to pieces. My body was locked in place like a statue, forced to endure the torture. Even worse, I could see it, deep inside me, next to the Dao seal that held all my power. A strange, eerie glow was growing. Its energy was cold and foul, a drop of poison in a clear spring. When I woke up, my clothes were soaked in cold sweat. The nightmare was burned into my mind, but the whispers from the stone, the steel's whisper, had become clearer. It was like an ancient, sleeping thing was waking up inside my head. I knew, right then, that I was no longer the same. I tried to tell the elders what happened. They looked at me with terror, then suspicion, and finally, they accused me of being corrupted by evil. Then the hunt began. The Lingxiao sword sect, the home I had sworn to protect, had turned on me. They didn't want to understand. They just wanted to destroy anything that didn't fit their rules, their divine code of Haotian. My family was destroyed overnight, blamed for crimes they didn't commit. The friends I once called brothers now aimed their swords at my heart. Betrayal from those I loved most? That was a pain sharper than any sword.
Shen Fusheng, you aberrant fiend, surrender now.
A powerful roar shook the trees. I spun around to see a streak of light, a blade of immense power, already upon me. It was Gu Changfeng, the chief of the Hall of Enforcement. His sword style was fierce, a storm of celestial energy meant to destroy all evil. There was nowhere left to run. My eyes burned with rage. That strange new power inside me, the aberrant power, pulsed like a desperate heart. It was my only chance. It was cold, corrupting, and violent, but it was all I had. I closed my eyes, picturing the stone tablet, letting its cold whispers guide me.
Oh!
I roared, twisting my arms at an unnatural angle and unleashing the aberrant power into the world around me. In that instant, all color drained from the world. The wind died. The air grew thick and sticky. A foul stench, like rotting plants and rust, filled my lungs. The light itself seemed to bend and shatter. Nearby trees groaned as they were twisted into knots by an unseen force. The dead leaves and wet mud on the ground began to bubble and squirm, as if something horrible was about to crawl out. The entire forest had become a warped, silent, and decaying nightmare. Xuanhuang's brilliant sword attack plunged into my distorted domain. But there was no explosion. Instead, his attack slowed to a crawl, as if it had been caught in a giant spiderweb. Its light flickered and died, eaten away by my strange power. Now, I used the last of my energy to throw myself sideways, a ghostly shadow skimming across the ground. I barely dodged the weakened attack, but its edge still grazed my back, leaving a trail of fire. He's bending space. It's a dark art. Signal the elders, now. One of the pursuers screamed in terror. Their usual discipline was gone, replaced by pure panic. A dark art? I thought, a cold sneer forming in my heart. This power chose me. Have you ever once questioned if your divine code is truly just? But the backlash from the power was immediate and brutal. A pain like a million ants chewing on my bones erupted in my left arm. A corrupting coldness spread through my veins, numbing everything it touched. The whispers in my head turned into a frantic, maddening scream. Black spots danced in my vision. Using this power was like setting my own soul on fire to light a lamp.
Capture him! You must not escape this forest.
A new voice, colder and far more powerful, washed over me like a wind from the grave. It carried a crushing weight, as if the sky itself was falling. It was the Elder of Law, Xuanhuang. He was here. Xuanhuang, the man who had once praised me, who had personally taught me the way of the sword. Now, his face was a mask of death, his eyes sharp as a hawk's. He was no longer a mentor. He was a reaper come for my soul. The pressure from his heaven-ranked Dao seal was a physical weight, making the very air thick and heavy, crushing my lungs. Several beams of ice-blue sword energy, far deadlier than before, shrieked through the air. They were solid, bone-chilling constructs of power, aimed with deadly precision at my head, my throat, and my heart. Xuanhuang wasn't trying to capture me. He was trying to kill me. I was trapped. My eyes were bloodshot. I ignored the pain, ignored the dizziness, and squeezed out every last drop of aberrant power, channeling it into my right palm. My hand was instantly covered in a thick, light-swallowing shadow, and the twisted patterns from the steel faintly appeared on my skin. "Break!" I screamed, throwing my hand forward to meet the deadliest of the attacks. The impact wasn't the clang of metal, but the sickening crunch of rotting wood. It was like a thunderclap exploding in my chest. A massive force threw me backward. The aberrant shadow and the celestial sword light tore each other apart in a hissing vortex of energy. My right arm went completely numb. Blood exploded from my mouth. I flew through the air like a broken stick and slammed into a giant tree trunk. The tree splintered as I collapsed at its base, every bone in my body screaming. My Dao seal flickered, on the verge of shattering. The power inside me raged out of control. My vision went black. Through the haze, I could see Xuanhuang gliding toward me like a phantom, his sword glowing with a soul-freezing light. The shadow of death had finally fallen. This is it. This is the end. To be killed by the sect I swore to protect, executed by the elder I once admired, my consciousness was about to be snuffed out. And in that moment of weakness, a sliver of the cold, corrupting power slithered toward my mind, trying to drag me into madness. Just as I was about to fall into that final dark abyss, a piercing, blood-red shadow shot out from the deep woods like a bolt of lightning. It stank of blood and pulsed with an aberrant energy even wilder and more powerful than my own. It didn't come for me. It slammed like a cannonball into the thickest group of my pursuers. She was small, but she held the force of a volcano. Her skin was covered in strange, blood-red patterns that seemed to writhe and flow like living things. Her power was the same as mine, but it was rawer, more violent, filled with a pure, bloodthirsty hunger to destroy. No battle cry, no hesitation. The moment she landed, the leaves at her feet turned to dust. The blood patterns on her body flared like lava. She lunged like a panther and threw a simple, straight punch. As her fist flew, the space in front of it buckled and warped. A wave of crimson energy, thick as gore and radiating a tearing, corrosive force, shot out and slammed into an enforcer who was about to finish me off. His spiritual shield was as fragile as paper. With a sickening rip, it was torn apart. The punch landed squarely on his chest. There was no scream, just the horrifying, muffled crunch of shattering bone. The enforcer was thrown backward like a rag doll, smashing through 3 trees before he disappeared into the bushes, his fate sealed. All that was left was a hissing, shallow crater in the ground, eaten away by the crimson energy. Silence. A dead, stunned silence fell over the battlefield. All I could hear was the soft rustle of leaves being crushed to powder under her feet. She slowly raised her head, and her eyes, as wild and untamable as an abyssal beast's, scanned the frozen pursuers. She didn't even glance at me. She turned slightly to face the immense pressure of Lu Xuanxin, her body coiling like a predator about to strike. My heart, which had all but stopped, was now pounding in my chest. Who is she? Why does she have this power? Are we the same? I tried to move, but the pain was too much. Lu Xuanxin's roar of pure disbelief and rage shattered the night.
Where did this aberrant demoness come from? You see death.
His sword ignited with light once more, this time with the majestic power of a collapsing star, aimed straight for the defiant, blood-red girl. The pressure of the attack was so intense it felt like the very air was turning to a wall of solid ice. Faced with a blow that could split a mountain, the girl didn't back down. She let out a sharp, inhuman shriek. The ground at her feet cracked. The blood patterns on her body boiled, erupting in a blinding crimson light. She met his attack with her own. She twisted, her small frame unleashing the power of a striking dragon. Her right fist, completely encased in a thick, bloody light, screamed through the air and met the divine, ice-blue sword energy head-on. The space around her fist collapsed into a swirling, blood-red vortex that seemed to swallow the light itself. This time, the sound was like the sky cracking open. The celestial sword and the aberrant fist collided like 2 falling stars. A blinding light swallowed everything. Blue and red energy tore at each other, exploding in a shockwave that flattened the forest. Trees were snapped in half, instantly frozen and then corroded into black smoke. The ground was ripped apart. A violent storm of ice shards and blood mist shot out in every direction. For a single instant, there was a stalemate. The unstoppable celestial sword was held at bay by that bloody vortex of a punch. Lu Xuanxin's face, for the first time, showed a flicker of true shock. He could feel his pure, righteous energy being consumed and contaminated by her barbaric, destructive power. The girl was thrown back 3 steps, each step cracking the earth beneath her. A trickle of dark blood oozed from the corner of her lips. But when she looked at Lu Xuanxin, there was no fear in her burning red eyes. There was only a wild, frenzied hunger for the fight to continue. My world was spinning. She actually stopped Lu Xuanxin's attack. A heaven rank strike. The aftershock sent another wave of agony through my broken body. But all my pain was forgotten, overshadowed by the impossible scene in front of me. In the frozen cave of my despair, a red-hot poker had just been plunged. Her madness and her power had torn a hole in my certain doom. Are we the same kind? She's something else, a beast born for battle. A new question wrapped around my heart like a poisonous vine. Is she here to save me, or is she just here for the fight? Lu Xuanxin's furious roar echoed again. A new, even more terrifying battle was about to begin. Escape. I have to escape now. The thought was pure instinct. I gritted my teeth, trying to find a sliver of life in the chaos of these two terrifying powers. The night was black as ink, and the blood patterns danced in the darkness like spider lilies blooming in hell. I lay in the cold mud, looking at the back of the figure the world called an aberrant fiend, but who had just become the only light in my abyss. A cold, clear voice sounded in my heart. From this moment on, my path to ruin might also be the start of a journey to another, unknown world. My fate was now tied to that crimson shadow. Thank you for listening. Exclusively produced by Alan Echo Story Narratives. What is righteous and what is heretical? In Chronicles of the Forbidden Stele, where will you stand? Tell us in the comments. I am Shen Fusheng. This is my forbidden path. The steel still whispers, and I am still alive. Chronicles of the Forbidden Stele. See you in the next chapter.
权衡未雨歇，整日残杯裂隙，笑脸散尽处，闲梦花光已凋谢。他倚着淡笔写色路渐熄灭，唯有掌心余温淌过这寒夜。
我已被雨风和它撕裂裂的经脉，它已残眼烘干过冬桑的指尖，无人庆贺的胜利，只剩满目狼藉。归邪之名如此，却剩彼此为一。